This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Pool Pros. Are you using the new Hasa Pro Rewards app? Earn points on Hasa and render purchases, redeem them for gift cards and product rewards. Download the free Hasa Pro Rewards app today and get rewarded. By the Bottom Feeder. With their new cartridge filter assembly, now you can vacuum dirt in a pool down to 10 microns. Don't just vacuum the pool, finish it.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. Today I'm going to be talking about pool poles and what I would recommend for your situation. I've pretty much used every pool pole on the market out there with a few exceptions, and I'm going to go over which pool pole may be best for your situation. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. For me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. I've always pretty much used a 3-piece pole since I first started in 1988. I used the SkimLite Dually, and this is probably one of the premier tri-poles out there. Now, there are a few reasons why you may want to go with a 3-piece pole versus a 2-piece pole. And the main reason that I always use a 3-piece pole is because I've always driven compact or mid-sized trucks, I would say. Now they're mid-sized trucks. Back when I started, they were pretty much compact. They were probably very similar in size to the Ford Mavic now, the Toyota Tacomas back then. So there's not a lot of room in the bed. And a 2-piece, 8 feet to 16-foot pole would stick out 3 feet from the back of the bed. And so I always went with the tri-pole, mainly I think for that. If I start with a full-size truck, who knows, maybe I'd be using a 2-piece pole all the time. But that was the first advantage of the 3-piece pole, is that when it's collapsed down, it's about 6 feet, 5.5, 6 feet, or depending which pole you have, there's all different ones now. So my go-to pole for many years and I of course still use this pole along with other poles, is the SkimLite Dually 9018. This pole is, when it's collapsed down, is 6 feet 8 inches, and when it's fully extended to the point where you can extend it, is 17 feet 6 inches, and it's a 3-piece pole, so there's 3 sections of it. I call them tri-poles, and then there's 2-piece poles. Now the advantage again is that it collapses down smaller. Their SnapLite pole, which is another pole that they use, it actually folds down to 6 feet. And I think Primate, their 6 to 17-foot pole, if I'm not mistaken, is a little bit less than 6 feet. I'll have to check that. But 6 feet is pretty optimal for your pool, for the bed of your truck. And another advantage of the tri-pole is that here in my area, and this probably is very similar to Florida. Florida has a lot of screened-in pools. In my area, the backyard area sometimes is pretty tight, which means you're walking down the side of the property, you're doing the pool, and you're close to objects, you're close to the walls, you're close to the planters. You may even be close to the customer's window. Everything is pretty compact in backyards. Not all the backyards are like that, but there are a lot of really compact pool pads now in my area. So the fact that the pole collapses down to 6 feet versus 8 feet really helps bringing it back, not banging into things when I'm using it, when I'm skimming it. And so that's a pretty good advantage there. Just the fact that it's a more compact pole. Now, it's a little bit heavier because of the 3 pieces. Just be aware of that. I don't know if they have the weight of this pole on their site. I don't think so, but it's not a light pole, but it's not super heavy. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like a medium weighted pole. And the nice thing about it also is that it extends to 17.6 feet, which is really good for vacuuming pools from just one side of the pool deck. That's a pretty good advantage over the two-piece pole, which extends out to about 16 feet. So you get a foot and a half more with a three-piece pole, which doesn't seem like a lot when you're thinking about it, but if you're vacuuming a pool and the pool is 16 feet across by 30 feet wide, that extra length really allows you to vacuum the entire pool from one side without having to cross over and kind of vacuum a few feet on the other side, which is, of course, something you have to do if the pool's bigger. But that's a pretty good advantage, in my opinion, of the three-piece poles, that you can actually vacuum from one side of the pool, and that definitely is an advantage for sure. Now, if you have large commercial accounts, you may want to get their 9024 pole, and I've used this one before, and it's a heavy pole because it's 8 feet to 24 feet. So this, of course, the advantage of this is that if you have a larger pool, you can definitely vacuum from one side. It's also great for brushing the pools, and it just gives you that extra reach, but it is heavier. It's, you have your typical 9016 pole. I'm giving you all the SkimLite poles right here, and I'm going to, of course, move on to other poles shortly. This one is their 8x16 two-piece pole. So that's kind of the standard 8 foot to 16 foot. And then you get a three-piece 8 to 24 foot pole. So there are some advantages with the larger tri-pole if you wanted to go that direction. And before I leave SkimLite, I'll touch on their SnapLite pole. This is a pole that they've been working on for a long time, and it's very much like the power pole that I'll talk on also. It has little buttons you push to kind of extend and retract it. So the Dually actually has cam lock, so basically you twist to lock it, twist to unlock, twist to lock it. I like it because it's fast, but it can lock up on you, and it can wear out, and then the pole, you can't lock it anymore. So there's a drawback with the twist lock poles. The SnapLite pole has a button and little notches where it kind of clicks into. I like this pole. It's a really good pole, and they have the 6317 is the one that I use regularly, and this is a 6 foot to 17 foot pole, a little bit shorter, I think, than the standard Dually, but it still is a pretty good sized tripole with the button. So if you like the button, definitely you would want to go with the SnapLite pole, and the three-piece pole is my preference. Now, there are some advantages of the two-piece pole. Either the Dually or this one, is that there's less maneuvering up and down with the pole, basically, since you have only two sections. So this does make it faster to extend it out to skim the pool in the middle, or even to vacuum the pool in some cases. You'll get more speed with a two-piece pole. And it's a little bit, I think, easier to manage in a lot of cases with two pieces than three. So I've used two-piece poles out there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like a snob and only use tri-poles, but the two-piece poles just don't fit really well in my area. And really, my vehicle is the bed of my vehicle, my truck, is better suited for a three-piece pole. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. A two-piece aluminum pole that I really like besides the SkimLite is the Smart Company, the PPLV Piranha Pro Line Power Pole. Now the Power Pole is an 8 to 16 foot pole. They've always talked about coming out with a three-piece pole. I don't believe they ever did. I better check. I don't think they ever did. And I'm on their site, the Piranha site, and nope, there is no three-piece. So you have the PPLV8, and that's all they have available. So they've talked about it for years. I probably think that it was probably too heavy. That would be my thought. and maybe there wasn't really a way to make the third pole with their mechanism. I don't know exactly why they didn't make it, but so they only have the Piranha Power Pole PPLV8. To me, this is a really good, maybe the premier two-piece pole. Their button is a little bit better than the SkimLite button, so it's more reactive, and it's a really strong pole as well. So the power pole would be definitely my choice if you're looking for an aluminum two-piece pole. I think it's pretty premier. Now, the only drawback with it, if you consider it a drawback, and I kind of do, is that it's loud. So if you have pools early in the morning, 7 a.m., and you're like clicking and snapping it, a lot of dogs don't like that sound, and they'll be barking, going crazy. It's also echoes, so it's really loud when you're like in a backyard. It's like maybe a morning where it's kind of foggy. There's not a lot of movement in the air, and you're like snapping it and clicking it to extend it. Click, 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 click. It's loud. So that's kind of a drawback. The SnapLite pole is also loud, by the way. The SkimLite Dually makes no noise. And then the carbon fiber poles, of course, with their lever locks, make very little noise or no noise at all. So keep that in mind with those early morning stops, that this is not a kind of ninja type device. You're going to know, people are going to know you're back there cleaning their pool with the power pole. I'm going to move over to the carbon fiber poles. And before I talk about the Primate and the Ultimate Pool Tools pole, SkimLite does make a carbon fiber pole, and they're a little late on the market with it. They're the last ones on the market. It's actually a pretty good pole. I have a video that compares the SkimLite carbon pole, fiber pole, to the Primate and the Ultimate Pool Tools pole, and you can refer to that one on YouTube. Just type in, I guess, carbon fiber pole comparison pool. I don't know how you would find it, actually, but it's there. It exists, and the SkimLite has probably one of the more robust lineup of carbon fiber pole sizes. I'll just read them quickly through so you know. 6.5 to 11, 6 to 15, 6 to 17 feet. Then they have a two-piece 7.5 to 15, a two-piece 8 to 16, and then a three-piece 7.5 to 20, and then another three-piece 8 to 24. So a pretty robust sizing lineup. Primate has kind of kept it to only a few sizes, which I like, and I like the fact that they're kind of limited and specific with their sizes. So you have the one that I use all the time, which is the Primate 3X. That's your 6 to 16 foot pole. It's actually a little less than 16 feet on the specs. Then you have your Primate 2X, which is 8 to 15 feet. And then the Primate Maverick, which is 4 to 13 feet, a tri-pole. And they also have an 8 to 22 three-piece pole. You can also get that one. So those are the lineups of the Primate poles. What makes the Primate pole really nice is I like the vertical lever lock that they have on there. To me, I find it easy to use and to move the tubes up and down. Everyone has their preference when it comes to carbon fiber poles, I think. And I've started with the Primate, and that's kind of why I have an affinity towards the Primate pole. It's the first carbon fiber pole I used, and I thought it was okay back then, and now it's definitely a great pole now. They've done a lot to make it much better. And their new grip is really awesome. So the Primate pole is something you can check out. I think you can go to primatepooltools.net or just type in Primate pool poles in Google. It'll take you there. Their main competitor is the Ultimate Pool Tools Hyper Pole. If you've ever been to a pool show, they usually have their booths like close to each other for some reason. I don't know why that happens, but Primate will be here, and then like 6 booths down will be the Ultimate Pool Pole. You'll see pool pros walking around the showroom with the poles they bought at the show at show discount prices, and you'll see Primate poles, and you'll see the Hyper pole like all through the aisle. So it's pretty cool to see that both companies are supplying poles to pros. And honestly, neither of these companies can supply all the pool poles necessary for the industry. So it's not like the competition is, if one company one company probably can't produce enough for everybody. And they're different. They have different characteristics. The Primate pole is thicker in your hands. The Ultimate pole is thinner on your hands. The Primate pole is lighter. The Hyper pole is a little more finesse. It's got a great lever lock system. And it comes in various sizes. They seem like they are 4 to 5 weeks out with their products right now, but they'll give you a 10% discount. So the 3x15, 6 to 15 foot pole is out 4 or 5 weeks out. This is at the current recording of this podcast. It changes over time, I think. They're 3 to 17, 6.8 to 17 foot poles also out 4 weeks out. Their 8 to 20 poles also 4 weeks out. They do have their Mavic pole. They call it the same thing that Primate calls it, which is strange, but I guess that's kind of what you do. In business, you kind of want to be similar. It's 4x14, so it's a little bit bigger. And their shorty pole is available. It's 3x8. That's probably pretty good for spas. I would definitely compare both of these together, the Hyper pole and the Primate pole. And the Primate pole looks like they're all in stock, by the way. So that's not a problem. With the Primate pole, they're always usually pretty good with their stock. I haven't seen them run out of stock. So definitely you would want to try both of these poles, I think. A lot of pool pros actually have both of these poles on their truck. The only, I guess, drawback with the carbon fiber pole, and this is probably area specific, but some in Los Angeles County, theft is probably the number one thing I would worry about with a $350 pole in the back of your truck. Is someone going to steal it? So if you do have this pole, in fact, Primate makes a lock for it. They have this locking device. Let me see if I can find it on their site. It is the steel cable pole lock, so you can get a lock for it to lock it while you're not using it. That's why I kind of like the small Primate pole, the 3X, because you can actually put it, if you have a 4-door truck, you can actually stick it in your cab. Like if you have to go stop at Walmart for something, just take the pole out of the back of your truck and put it in the interior of your truck, because it folds down to 6 feet. So that's kind of like why I like that pole too. And it's one of those things where you just have to be cognizant that if you have a pole that looks cool sticking out of the back of your truck, it's very attractive to people to snag that pole. So one thing that carbon fiber poles have a problem with is theft. And the aluminum poles, they get really ratty looking quickly. They get all scraped up. The sticker starts to kind of look messed up on it. And people normally don't steal those. There's nothing attractive about a SkimLite pole after a year of use. And there are definitely advantages of both the aluminum pole and the carbon fiber pole. And again, you're going to have to make a decision if you want carbon fiber, aluminum, or a combination of both. I use a carbon fiber pole and I keep an aluminum pole on my truck as a backup. That's kind of how I roll. And I think having both poles is also good. The carbon fiber pole is much lighter. So if you're holding this tool in your hand, 80% of the time, you're holding the pole in your hand. A lighter pole is definitely going to feel better over time. And it's really the advantage of the carbon fiber pole is that it's lighter and it's stronger than aluminum pole, technically on paper. So all of that kind of makes me myself lean towards a carbon fiber pole. But again, they're more expensive, 2 or 3 times the cost of a aluminum pole of the similar quality. So you have to make that decision if you want to budget that much money for a pole. But I would say carbon fiber poles are definitely worth it. And all 3 companies make them. SkimLite, Primate Pool Tools, and Ultimate Pool Tools make the carbon fiber poles. If you're looking for other podcasts, you just go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu with close to 2,000 podcasts for you to download and listen to. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.